is Bold TV.
Hey, good morning, beautiful people out there, ladies and gentlemen of the online space. Once again, we have come your way with all our glow and fineness. And today we have another riveting topic to dissect and do justice to. Welcome to Bold TV, powered by Bold Hearts Network. Beautiful. You've already seen it. Beautiful, outstanding ladies with disabilities. Women who are rocking the different spheres of life. So we welcome you today. We are usually here every Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. And we always look forward to educating you, informing you, and ensuring that you are up to date on information regarding the disability space, especially women with disabilities. So today we are going to be talking about entitlement. I don't know what comes to your mind first when you hear that, but today we'll be addressing it from the perspective of the mind, the mindset, the entitlement mentality. That's what we'll be addressing. We're not talking about rights. We're not talking about what a person is entitled to, but we are here to address a mindset that seems to be pervasive in the disability community. And before we start, we are going to have to lay a foundation about where the line is drawn between entitlement as a mindset and entitlement with regards to the rights of a person with disabilities. So with me here are amazing women who are outstanding in their different spheres, and they'll be joining me to do justice to this topic. So before I go on, I'd like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves.
All right, thank you very much, Affiong. Good morning, everyone, our viewers, our listeners, our lovers out there, and lovers of the feminine gender with disabilities out there joining us again on the show. My name is Oluwatomi Olatayo. I'm a broadcast journalist, a copywriter, a gender and disability rights advocate. I am a visually impaired person who is based in Abeokuta, the state capital of Ogun, the gateway state. Feels really good and entitled to be here this morning. Thank you.
Hi everyone, lovely morning to you wherever you're watching us from. My name is Affiong Etim. I'm based in Port Harcourt in Rivers State. I'm the ED of Fake Foundation, public health practitioner, as well as the member of Bold Hearts Initiative, and it's a privilege to be here. I don't feel entitled, I feel privileged. Thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome. All right, and finally we have a guest on the show today, and she's not here for the first time, but we are glad to have her. So, Barrister, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Those watching us from the comfort of their homes and those listening wherever they are. My name is Patience Etumudon. I'm a legal practitioner. I am based in Asaba, the state capital of Delta State. And I'm also the secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association Lawyers with Disabilities Forum. I am actually a person with disability. Like she said, I'm not one who feels very, very entitled. No, but that does not mean that I do not have my rights, so I wouldn't want my rights to be protected when they are infringed upon.
Spoken like a full lawyer. Welcome, ma. We shall not infringe on your rights. So thank you so much. And finally, I am your host for today. My name is Affiong Etim. I use a wheelchair from spinal cord injury, medical lab scientist based in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, and a member of Bold Hearts Network. So now let's deep dive into our topic. First of all, like I said, let's lay a foundation. What is the difference between entitlement with regards to rights and entitlement as a mentality? Frankie.
Okay, thank you very much. So without dragging it out, I believe that this has been hinted on in the introduction. Is there a difference between being entitled and having a sense of entitlement? Yes, there's a difference. And the difference lies in the borderline as regards a person's rights. For me, that's a core difference between having a sense of entitlement and being entitled to something. So entitlement, if we're just looking at it as a word, is a person's rights, a person's approved rights, either as a citizen of a country or with respect to the fundamental human rights or disability rights, as it were, for persons with disabilities. So the rights and privileges a person should have by reason of being human, by reason of being a citizen of a country, by being in this space or time. The other one, which is the sense of entitlement, has to do with, it's basically a personal trait that has to do with a person having expectations or expecting some things that come to them, not because they merit it or it's something that is a definite thing, but because they feel that by reason of a position, and in our case, being a woman or being a person with disabilities or a mix of the two, the person feels that I should get this, not because I merit it or because I am this. So that's the difference. It's really personal, and it has a lot to do with the mind, while the other one has a lot more to do with rights. Thank you.
Okay, so we are not going to plug it. We have had dictionary definition. So you can go and check Google for extra information. Now, from what you've said, it is the difference lies in what you deserve by reason of the law, by reason of the rules that govern a particular society, versus what you think you deserve. So one can be validated, while the other varies from one individual to the other. Okay, so let's move on. Now, what I want to find out is, many times people with disabilities often, straddle that border between their rights and having a sense of entitlement. And most times it tends to lean towards that sense of entitlement because many times they don't often know their rights. So I'd like to ask, in what ways do women with disabilities manifest a sense of entitlement? All right. Barrister, let's start with you. Just briefly, what are some of the ways that women with disabilities manifest a sense of entitlement, where they think, oh, I should be given this, I deserve to have this? What are some of the ways they do this?
What are some of what? Sorry, can you come again?
I said, what are some of the ways that women with disabilities in particular tend to, have a sense of entitlement? What are some of the ways they feel that, oh, I deserve to be given this should come to me? What are some of the ways they have a sense of entitlement? If you can give some practical examples, that would be good.
Sometimes I think I've seen situations where, for instance, maybe someone is providing, let me use a training that we did not too long ago, and then someone said, no, you must provide transportation for them, you must provide this, you must provide that. And I said, we're trying to fight for our rights. We're asking to be given a space on a seat at the table. Now, if we're asking for a seat at the table, you cannot ask for both a seat at the table and at the same time be asking for peanuts. It doesn't make sense. Then you see, sometimes then you just see everyone saying, no, they must give us this. It's our entitlement, it's our right, we need it. And I tell them, I say, no, it is not your right. It's not an entitlement, it's a privilege for anyone to say, take this extra or take this, because first and foremost, it is the same rights that you have that every other human has. Those, whether the person is a person with disability or not. It's just that because we are persons with disability, the law kind of favors us a little more, because they know that there are some things that ought to be in place that are not in place that we do deserve, and then they provide those things for us. But to now go outside of those legal requirements now, to insist on certain privileges. For instance, like you go for, you are invited for a program, for instance, you're invited for a program, and the program is not one. You've been told already that you are not entitled to so and so things. You have every right to say, I'm not going, because these things are not going to be provided. Now, once they have said that, it is not your duty now to get there and start protesting, for instance, and request and say, no, they must provide it for you. Then another thing I tend to see is for us to have this beggarly attitude. It's almost like a borderline between that beggarly attitude and that entitlement attitude. Like, you want things done, you want things, and instead of you to, how do I put it now, go about it in a responsible manner, in a respectful manner, you tend to say, no, it is my own, I need this thing must be given to me at all costs, or whether you like it or not, because I deserve it. So sometimes some of these things are really, really not so good. If we can look beyond them and start demanding for what the law actually says should be provided for us.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Thank you so much. You've highlighted, some, and it's something that is not just what you have seen. I've attended events where I have seen that, in fact, transport is small. You give them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and if possible, in between. Don't even try that. Frankie, let me come to you because I know you have seen enough. As someone in the NGO space.
Okay. Thank you very much. So one of the ways that this sense of entitlement manifests, for me, I see a lot, is missed opportunities. And like Barrister Patient said, majoring on peanuts and forgetting the end goal. Let me give an instance. I was invited for a program to mark International Women's Day a few days ago. And the people that wanted to invite me did not know me directly, but a few persons knew me, and they were trying to, encourage. But I knew that their barrier was just the fact that I was a woman with disability. And the thoughts that they have of persons with disabilities probably has not been the best, because they kept trying to, they were saying, bring profile, meanwhile, what I was doing was not much. They were just trying to understand that, where this was coming from. And then the person who knew me in that space now called me separately, or after we've had a conference call, to now say, please, there's no transport. I told her that I don't need transport to come for a program that I've been invited to come and do something. I'm not interested in the transport. And apart from that, I've looked at the program, and I actually like the other people that are speaking in the program, and it's a program that I want to attend. And I think that response was a clincher, because all of a sudden it now became not about getting transport or this and that, or it became about something that was bigger than just the transportation. And honestly, me being in that meeting, I could see mindsets changing. The few minutes that I had to speak, things changed just because I decided I needed to show up and I didn't want to major on the minor. So one of the key ways that I think is missed opportunity. Where you allow that attitude that causes you to feel entitled to benefits that not necessarily accrue to you, they make you miss opportunities. Another way I've seen it manifest is a failure in thriving in spaces that you naturally will. Let me give an instance. So let's say one of the ways you got a skill was through an empowerment program. And because there's no other empowerment program, I've seen too many women with disabilities not improve on the skill that they learned 5 years ago, because nobody brought another empowerment program to them. So it also limits growth. I've seen that a lot. Why can't you invest in yourself? Why are you waiting to sit around for another cycle of empowerment program? So I just said these are some of the ways, and I brought it to our agenda because I've seen it too much. I think the last one I'll mention, in keeping my answers short, will be the fact that we go and become a liability and block the spaces that other people would be given the opportunity. When we go there and we do not do the work, we become a liability. And what we inevitably do is that a door that was maybe open by chance or opportunity is blocked for others. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I forgot to actually expatiate on that question, because there was actually a second part. It's not just about how they exhibit it, but the impact it has. Thank you for addressing both. You have said missed opportunities. Another one that we've seen is about people expecting curated disability opportunities. As in, I remember posting something on WhatsApp in one of the groups, and somebody asked, is it for people with disability? I said, what has it got to do with anything? Somebody is willing to sponsor you to do something, and you are asking if they have attached something to it. Missed opportunity. Many persons with disabilities don't even engage because it does not have disability attached to it. It has become a crutch that we lean on. Okay, Tommy, would you like to speak to the impact of entitlement mentality on women with disabilities in particular? Maybe you can come from the angle of relationships and, how that's from that space.
Okay, so when you have a sense of entitlement, it makes you a liability, a burden on other people. So they are coming to you with that mindset of, I cannot get anything from this person. The person is just always willing to take. And so you give people a very bad impression of you, which in turn also affects other persons with disabilities, around you, out there, because people begin to see us in that lens that, when you see a person with disability, even when you try to help them, I've heard of instances where people get into public transport and they refuse to pay because they are persons with disabilities. Even private transport, somebody picks you with their taxi and then you refuse to pay because you feel you're a person with disability. And when is the next time for that same taxi driver to pick another person with disability? The person will say no, because it feels like these people will just get into my taxi and not pay. I've had conversations from, after the Disability Act says, okay, 5% employment quota for persons with disabilities. You see people that do not even have a certificate, do not have what they are bringing to the civil servant service, say, why is the government not employing us? What do you have to offer? Nothing. And then you just want the government or private institutions to employ you. So at the end of the day, like Freki said, an already open door will become shut to other persons with disabilities who have all it takes. It also takes a lot of self-worth, a lot of self-dignity. When you put on that beggarly attitude, when you put on that entitlement attitude, it reduces your self-worth. So people see you and they're like, let's sympathize with them. Let's just give them what we can. It also takes the real issue away from the table. So if you are coming to a place where we want to discuss about our rights under the law, and what you can think of is, would there be lunch? What's inside that lunch? What are you people going to give us? Are you people going to give us data? I've seen people that I've invited to Bold TV and they're like, are you people going to give me data? So it means that it takes away the real issue. We now do not focus because they say, like, well, let's just invite them for the sake of inclusion, so that the international community will not see us as not being inclusive. And let's find something to give them. After that, full stop. Nobody talks about the real issue anymore. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then we will scream discrimination. Hey, they did not include me. They did not do this. You see that job thing? Let's not go there. We have seen enough. And somebody will show up, even when they are given the opportunity, even if you have certificates and by some miracle they give you a place, they will go there and with that same sense of entitlement, they will do the work anyhow, if they even do it. Show up whenever, go whenever, do the work anyhow, no contribution whatsoever. And when the minute you try to take discipline them, hey, they carry the disability placard up. And you wonder, then next time somebody else will go there to work and, well, let's leave it. And for the record,
this one that you just described is somebody reported a girl who was deaf. She employed her in her school and she was now misbehaving. She was not coming to work. She was sloppy in work. Cautioned her, not based on whether you're a person with disability or not, but as a staff and as a worker who was delinquent. And then the girl now came and resigned. And said that they were discriminating against her in the place of work. And the funny thing is that same girl, because I knew her, that came to my inbox and was now begging for support that they sacked her after she had to leave work, that the place was not, that shut up. If I did not know about the workplace, I would have.
You see this thing?
Imagine.
You see this thing? You see how people are. You carry your hand. You will carry your hand and rub sheets. Pardon my French. Mess up a place. Unfortunately, it's not just you. Because the next person that looks like you who shows up there will be denied, no matter how good they are, will be denied an opportunity. They won't even let them put their foot in the door. Why? Because the last person that came that looked like that did not do well. Whether we like it or not, you can scream discrimination till your voice goes. The rules apply to everybody. So wherever you go to, and for the record though, for those who are watching us, Bold TV does not give me data. I show up here every Saturday. I am not given data. There's no data allowance. I'm using my own money because I know what we are doing is bigger than just now. It's bigger than just where we are now. We're looking at the big picture so that tomorrow people will know, have the information they should have. I know people's lives are being changed. So please, let's make an effort. So moving on, so that we don't flog this horse, it has already died. Moving on, I would like to know, now that we've established that this exists and this problem persists, how do women with disabilities in particular, because we are very emotional, everything we will cry and shout louder than our sins. How do women with disabilities begin to overcome this mentality? How do they even recognize they have and then begin to work towards overcoming it? Barrister, let's start with you, please. Some words of wisdom. Let's keep it brief. Our time is fast spent, so we can round up soon.
It will have to be done with, it has to be a deliberate effort, but not just by a particular woman, but by every woman that has a disability, and by disability groups, disability organizations, and the rest of them. We all have to make deliberate efforts to tell ourselves the truth and tell ourselves how to move away from this. And one of the first steps we have to take is to recognize the fact that you are not alone, and that you are not carrying the world on your head. There are people everywhere who are also going through things. That yours is either physical and people are seeing it, or people can sense it, or people just know that you have a disability. It does not make you the only person that is going through stuff. Nigeria right now is not so friendly. So a lot of persons are going through a lot of hardship. They are also, whether you like it or not, they are disabled, whether because they are financially. So will they now start carrying that entitlement mentality all over? No. So it has to be a deliberate effort by every one of us to realize the fact that, one, we have to stop this and move forward and moving forward. And secondly, we have to make sure wherever we find ourselves, and this is what I always tell people, wherever you find yourself as a person with disability, give a good account of yourself. Because you are either blocking the way for others who are behind you, or you are opening channels of opportunity for those in front of you who have not reached that position too. It all depends on how you work. If you are a very hardworking staff, believe me, just take it from me that your employer and other employers will want to take someone like you, because they know that it is even more profitable. Like I always say, that it's even more profitable employing someone with disability. They will not leave their desks. They don't have that time to leave their desks to say they want to go and start doing office gossip and go walk around from one table to the other to engage in office gossip. If it's someone who is physically challenged, or someone who has hearing impairment, or is visually impaired, he's busy doing the work on the table. There's no time for him to say, oh, please come and take me to the next table so that I can start engaging one gossip or the other. So it's a plus for you as an employer. It's actually a plus for you as an employer. And also it's a plus for you as a person with disability and for the disability community, because you would have opened up opportunities for other persons. So this is the time now for us to sit up, clean our asses, sit down and start thinking about how to move forward, about how to disabuse our minds of this entitlement thing that we have, that has built up over time. And another thing, for parents who have children with disabilities, do not treat them as one special person. They are not special. They are just like every other child in your home. They're just like every other child in your home. So when you are asking other children to run errands in the home or to do chores in the home, then that child with disability should be given a chore that fits around that disability the child has. That's something he can conveniently, or she can conveniently do. If that child will grow up with that self-confidence, and with that self-confidence can walk into anywhere and say, I need a job, or I want to do this, or start a business of our own, and then forget about entitlement. Is all about poverty. It's poverty of the mind. I always say that, because if you're not poor in your mind, you will not be looking for who is going to give you one thing or start shouting, it is my right, it is my right. If you are working or you're doing something and you can take care of yourself, you do not have that time to bother about whether one person is doing one thing or is doing another thing. It's only when they now see on your right, that's what I want to find.
Thank you so much. You really said a lot, and the part that really hits me is that part of the family unit. And you've already, that kind of addresses the next question we're about to take. Tommy, what do you want to say?
Thank you very much, Affiong. I would say that social etiquette is something that, as persons with disabilities, women and girls with disabilities, we need to learn how to behave in public, how not to attach your disability to every and anything you're getting or you are, trying to get. Social etiquette, getting information. If you feel that this place that I am going, I do not have transport fare, and they are not offering you transport fare, it's better you excuse yourself so that you don't go there and embarrass yourself. So it has to be a conscious thing. If they're offering you transport fare, fine. But that also does not mean you now get there, you start fighting. I've seen cases where it becomes violent. The organizers are even trying to give the transport fare, but it's already violent, and they don't even know where to start from anymore. They are frustrated. So it's better that you can, know where you are going. Be prepared on your own. If they give you extra, accept with thanks. I've heard, so many stories of how persons with disabilities do not say thank you. Even to your aid, you feel that, okay, maybe you are paying the aid, but you feel entitled to that person's services, whether it's being paid or not. So develop that grateful spirit. It has to be intentional. It is a social etiquette to say thank you when you've been offered anything. Even when you've been allowed a passage of way, as minute as that. Someone is standing, maybe doing something, and then the person makes way for you to pass. It's only normal for you to say thank you. So develop your social etiquette. Get empowered. Even though sometimes I feel that even people who have jobs, they have a way of also playing out this entitlement mentality. But get empowered. Find something to do. Invest in yourself. If you invest in yourself, nobody will offer you peanuts for coconuts. You'll be looking at the coconut because it is bigger, it is juicier, it is, nutritious than you just accepting the peanuts.
Okay, thank you so much. So in summary, just stick to what falls within the rights we are entitled to in the law. Not anything else is extra. Frankie, do you want to add to that?
Thank you very much. I will just add that one of the ways to begin to work is, because it's a very thin line between what you're entitled to and having that sense of entitlement. And the demarcating factor there is knowledge. Knowledge of what you are entitled to is important so that you do not demand amiss. Why am I saying this? I remember when I heard people trying to interpret that 5% employability. I heard the interpretation and I knew that they understood it upside down. So while the provisions of the law are there and things like that, and it's important for you to have knowledge, a lot of knowledge and understanding, so that you don't cross the line. It's a very thin line between things you're entitled to and what you feel you're entitled to. One is objective and one is very subjective. And the second thing I want to add to this part of the conversation is this: you must always watch your emotions when it comes to these things. If you find that something's happening and then you're overly frustrated, and at the end of the day, you weigh the priority, the urgency, or you weight it and you see that this thing that I've been shouting about, how deep is it? How serious is it? How life-threatening or changing is this? You must begin to check your emotions and guard them. And the last thing I would say in the area of building skills is, even when you're entitled to something by way of your rights, you can also cross the line into entitlement if you are not able to communicate effectively what you're entitled to. So learning the skill of communication is important. This I have seen because I remember us going to a place and we were talking to a facility manager, and the person with me was just talking, and you could see the walls already coming up. So we're entitled to what was happening. We're entitled to access. The right to accessibility is part of what everybody has. But the way she was presenting it, the person was already becoming defensive and not willing to take any step further to meet anywhere. So even at that space, you must learn to communicate what you feel is you're entitled to. That thing is so crucial, the ability to effectively communicate so that you don't cross the line. And this also comes very detailed, and I would like to say this, in the space of reasonable accommodation, because reasonable accommodation in the area of accessibility speaks to addressing accessibility based on people's specific needs. If you're not careful to to communicate what that is, you would cross the line and enter into that attitude of entitlement, and it can be very obnoxious, and it actually blocks and opens. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So it's not just about, even when it comes to your rights, even when it is your rights, how you present it, how you go about it is important. Emotional intelligence, effective communication. You don't go, even if you know it is your rights, find the best way to present it so that it is acceptable to the other person and they are willing to accommodate your needs and also, address them. So finally, just before we go, briefly, I just want us to address those who are not without a disability, because they have to be at the receiving end of this. How, just very briefly, each person, just keep it as brief as possible, few seconds, because we are rounding up. How do they respond when they are confronted in situations like this? How do they respond without somebody saying, oh, you have discriminated, you have violated my right, blah, 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 blah. How do they respond? Briefly. So, Barrister, let me start with you.
Patience. That's actually my name too. Patience. So they have to be patient. It takes a lot of patience. Of course, in human relationships, you must be patient. If you're not a patient person, you can't interact with others. So you have to be patient and patiently explain why you are taking the decision you are taking and why that decision has to stand. Because in most cases, what offends persons with disabilities sometimes is not just the fact that you are telling them no. It is how you say it. So you have to also remember that they are humans too, so that when you are addressing them, dignity, respect, So just patiently tell them, and then you'll be surprised that the person will say, oh, is that how it's supposed to be? Okay, thank you, and walk away. It is when you start doing our local gra, and the person will show you too that you have, So patience.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, Frankie.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So persons without disabilities, I would say something. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So get knowledge. Get some knowledge so that there's a difference between infringing on someone's rights and because they are not the same thing. Because a lot of times I've seen people get careless. So about persons with disabilities being entitled. I mean, of essence, the truth of the matter is that they're infringing on the rights of persons with disabilities. So I've seen that as the case, where it's not an issue of a sense of entitlement, but rather it's somebody discriminating outrightly and forming being unaware that, this was what's happening. The other thing I would like to say is this, and that is to persons without disabilities. In the stages of planning for anything, and you want to push for inclusion, some level of assignment on your own part should be done by getting some information, not just making assumptions. So you want to avoid making those assumptions, because a lot of times assumptions that we make in the disability space are usually based on a lot of misconceptions and negative stereotypes. So I'm going to ask you to please do some due diligence of getting information, especially in the planning stages of any intervention or anything, so that you can put things in place, as it were, for the diverse groups of persons that you want to engage with. So that's what I'm going to say. Thank you.
All right. So be aware of the rights so that when somebody is screaming discrimination, you can tell if truly you have violated their rights or not. So ignorance is no excuse. Tomisi, I hope your network is better now.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sorry about the interruption right there. Okay, so I wanted to say that listening, seeking for information, asking, do not assume, like Frankie said, that this is what a person with disability needs to be included in your program and programming. Ask information, seek professionals. I know many a times when we are planning programs, we seek strategists, professionals to help us. So we also have inclusion strategists, people who can help you develop a structure so that, when a person with disability is brought in on your program and programming, the person do not feel left behind and becomes emotional, and then you are also trying to be defensive. That's one very funny way of attending to issues of inclusion. You go all defensive and then you want to and also be willing to learn as a person without disability. Be willing to learn. Be open. Let me put it that way. Be open-minded in your structures, in your strategies, in your plans. Be open-minded. Also bringing on, I think Freki has mentioned that. So that's, including persons with disabilities in planning, processing, evaluation, money, in all, your stages of implementation. Don't just call them to come and chop. Make them a part of the kitchen duties. Let them be a part of the cooking, the meals, the buying of the ingredients and all of that. So that when it is time to eat, everybody is served according to what they have brought forth. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So I think with what we've talked about so far, I think we've done quite a bit of justice to this topic. I think we've been able to address some key issues. So for persons, especially women with disabilities out there, as you go out into society, do not assume. They say assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Don't assume, never assume that the other person knows what's happening with you. Communicate. And even when you communicate and it seems like the person is not responding as they should, like Barrister said, patience is key. And you must also learn to control your emotions. Emotional intelligence is key. Don't just assume that person, don't take everything personal. That person is attacking me because I'm not working well. It's because I cannot see. No, they just might be ignorant. So see it as an opportunity to advocate, to educate. And then if the person still does not respond as it should, then you can go further. All right. So ladies, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your contributions. They have been very, very insightful. Thank you for all that you have, brought to the table. I now realize that you are definitely not entitled people. You do not have a sense of entitlement. You also have something to contribute. So to our online audience, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. To our guests, thank you for coming. And I'd like to say that this video will be available on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page. Please go, like, subscribe, comment, send us your suggestions. If you want to be on the program, please reach out to any of the co-hosts, Freki, myself, Tomisin, Grace, or Constance. Any of us will be able to help you. So thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to having you next week, Saturday, same time, 10:30 a.m. And I'd like my ladies to just unmute their microphones and say bye-bye to the wonderful people out there.
To the wonderful people out there.
Bye. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have an amazing weekend.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy
Happy
your
Easter! Happy Easter to those celebrating.
Happy Easter.
Yes, all those celebrating.
Happy Easter.
This is Bold TV.